Tonight, high emotion as paramedics lock in a pay rise of up to 29%. Landfall imminent for Cyclone Jasper, trees down and power cut. Gas bottles become missiles, a Cabramatta home explodes into flames. Music legend Jimmy Barnes undergoes urgent heart surgery for an infection. And New West's Tigers boss Shane Richardson reveals how he'll repair the troubled club.
This is 9 News with Georgie Gardner.
Good evening. It's a win that'll be marked in the history books. An average 25% pay rise for our state's paramedics, plus back pay. The deal's been done in time to stave off a New Year's Eve 000 meltdown.
And embrace ending one of the state's most bitter industrial disputes. Emotion overcoming the ever-steady voice of our health heroes.
I'd like to really thank the paramedics behind us and the paramedics. Throughout New South Wales. This has been so difficult.
Tears of pride shed for a win hard fought.
We can now do what we signed up to do.
Paramedics standing with the Health Minister and Treasurer back on the same side after an 8-month-long standoff.
We have been the lowest paid. We have been the highest injured for a very long time.
I'm the first to accept that various people in the paramedic profession might not have me on their Christmas card list.
Forcing the government's hand on a landmark $500 million offer to avoid a 000 meltdown on New Year's Eve.
We all know that when you dial 000, what you want in your most desperate moment is for somebody there to help you.
The final deal will see 5,000 paramedics get between 11 and 29% pay rises over the next 4 years, an average of 25% across the board, and, critically, professional recognition under the health regulator. What the deal does is recognise that alongside doctors and nurses, paramedics play an integral role in the health system. For 18 months, they've been arguing that these ambulances are effectively an emergency department on wheels.
The basic things that a paramedic does was beyond belief when we all started on the field. Our award just simply wasn't fit for purpose.
An award finally changed, but it didn't come easy.
Every day that I thought we were getting ahead and we'd face another obstacle, and that's challenging when you're dealing in these negotiations. So, I think I'll probably sleep a bit better tonight.
Liz Daniels, 9 News. While the Health Minister is breathing a little easier tonight, the Treasurer might not be. Nobody disputes that the paramedics had a unique case for a major hike because of their incredible upskilling. But a deal like this will certainly see other unions looking for a slice of the pie. Up next, rail workers and firefighters among those who'll be next to negotiate, and it means the Minns government could be in for more industrial pain.
It's been a torturous wait as Cyclone Jasper edges closer to far north Queensland. Even before it makes landfall, the Category 2 storm has already wreaked havoc. Tonight, tens of thousands of residents are without power as they brace for powerful winds and widespread flooding.
Jasper has been cooking up a storm, switching gears to a Category 2 cyclone as it dawdled towards the coastline. Near Palm Cove, these beachside cabins could now boast a water view.
They were coming a metre over land as it was, so big.
Jasper is taking its time. Due to arrive at 2 p.m, it's now still a couple of hours away, with communities between Cairns and Cooktown in the strike zone. Residents have been given plenty of warning.
Got a few housemates, so we're hunkered down, got a Jenny. Got plenty of food in the fridge, so good to go.
As for tourists, perfect one day, not so beautiful the next.
Enjoying a holiday?
Yeah, we were up until now.
I came here to go snorkeling and to shop, and I'm not doing that yet.
The wind's already begun and will continue to worsen, and the likely scenario is they'll reach up to 140 kilometres per hour.
An early taste of destruction. 9 reporter Cam Inglis is in Cairns.
You can see these fences here right on the marina have already been knocked off by these extreme strong wind gusts.
But Jasper's delayed arrival was a stroke of luck, averting a double act. A king tide and a surge whipped up by the cyclone.
We would have had anywhere from 0.5 to 0.7 metres, half a metre of water through the Palm Cove area.
Stephen Miles is the Premier in waiting, but today he was the front man as his boss, Anastasia Palaszczuk, took a back seat.
Where's the Premier today?
The Premier is tidying up her office.
Boaties were also taking cover, yachts and motor launches abandoning the Cairns Marina for the safety of the mangroves. There are widespread blackouts. Up to half a metre of rain is expected to be dumped on the region. Flash flooding, cyclonic winds and surging seas. A trifecta too good to refuse. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Let's go now to our reporter Josh Bavis in Port Douglas. And Josh, update us, if you could, on conditions there now.
Well, Georgie, in the main street, in McCrossan Street, the wind is roaring. It's so powerful that it's uprooting trees, it's pulling vegetation down, it's shredding the leaves. If you look up the main street, it looks nothing like what it should on a regular day. The vegetation really is copping a battering. We can hear things rattling and rumbling, and we're still about 2 hours away from the worst of it. You can only imagine what the folks in Cape Tribulation are going through right now. They're going to cop the brunt of the Category 2 system. It's going to be a very long and worrying night for the people of Port Douglas and those in those communities up there on the Cape.
All right, we appreciate the update, Josh. Thank you. Explosions have roared through a Cabramatta street as highly volatile gas cylinders fuelled a fire that consumed a house and a neighbour's garage. The blast sent firefighters racing for cover as debris flew through the air.
Cabramatta and a 3-bedroom home under attack. Firefighters taking cover as gas bottles turn projectiles, a spray of missiles pelting the street. Over the road, a direct hit.
Hit my car.
You were panicking?
Yeah, well, I was running and panicking.
Panic spreading from Ashcroft to Lansvale.
Something's blown up.
Mate, get out!
My friend said I think there's a shooting.
Shrapnel's going everywhere.
50 000 calls the dark cloud over Gilbert Street hard to miss.
Oh my God.
Residents evacuated.
The explosion come, boom, around. Everyone running. Everyone run everywhere.
I was the veteran, like a B-40, B-41 of the communist launch grenade. Boom, boom, boom.
The fire breaking windows, claiming the next door garage and 3 cars.
This gas bottle, this one.
Last night was very unique for the amount of explosions that were occurring.
Just what was inside this Cabramatta garage is now in the hands of police. They and fire investigators say this is a confusing scene. They don't yet know what caused this home to go up. One man inside at the time.
I sleep, I don't know, boom, 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 I wake up, I run outside.
Are you okay?
Okay.
You're in the clothes you were wearing when you got out. Reunited with the family dog via Facebook after it was found on the street.
The intensity of the explosion was that huge. It's a miracle someone wasn't killed or at least severely injured.
In Cabramatta, Ruth Wynne-Williams, 9 News.
Rising wages, falling inflation and a better budget bottom line. That's the verdict as the Treasurer gave his mid-year economic update. But there's no new cost of living relief for struggling families, and it's about to cost a whole lot more to head overseas.
Walking with a smile, but it's workers that might finally be able to grin.
More people are earning more, and that's a good thing in our economy. We want more people earning more.
The forecast is for wages to grow, overtaking inflation and remaining higher for the years to come. That will mean more Australians will be able to purchase more goods and services with each pay packet.
People will start to get a better return for all of the hard work they do on behalf of their loved ones.
More tax, more spend, more immigration and more mortgage pain
And tonight, no new cost of living relief.
The rate of income support is just so low that people can't afford basics, they can't afford rent, they can't afford food, they can't afford medicine.
To be fair, that's economically the right thing to do. People are desperate for help, but if you give them help, if you give them money, they'll spend it, and that just adds to inflation, which adds to bills.
Low unemployment and higher iron ore and coal prices resulting in $67 billion more coming into government coffers compared to predictions from May. The deficit this financial year down to $1 billion, growing in the years ahead, with debt to top $1 trillion in early 2026, a year later than expected.
We're not in the mindset where we're just going to be able to continue to add in spending on things that pop up.
But there are new changes.
Passports to nearly 2 million Australians.
The price of passports will rise from July next year. Getting hybrid vehicles will be harder, with tax breaks now targeting electric vehicles instead. And billions of dollars of infrastructure projects will be delayed.
If you're not building your economy, if you're not growing the pie, you're simply taxing more and spending more, well, that's not a way to run an economy.
As with so many household budgets, interest rates are now hitting the federal budget hard. The cost of borrowing is now the fastest growing area of expense. Tonight, a new surplus in the new year is likely.
We are within striking distance.
And still the best hope for new cost of living relief. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Let's cross now to Finance Editor Chris Kohler in Melbourne. And Chris, there was additional good news in the budget update.
Well, Georgie, according to this update, inflation will fall faster than the Reserve Bank is predicting, so that would be good news. Today's government forecast showed the inflation target will be hit by mid-2025 rather than late 2025, which doesn't sound like a huge difference really, but it adds weight to the growing predictions that interest rates will start coming down next year. Now, right now, the market is tipping the first interest rate cut will be in November 2024. That's still a long way off, but that's why the government is so keen to sidestep any talk of spending. The aim here will be to claim victory if and when rates do start coming down late next year, Georgie.
Chris Kohler, thank you. TV producer Angus Llewellyn has rejected accusations Network 10 was planning to do a number on Bruce Lerman during the 2021 Project interview, which didn't name him. Mr Lerman was contacted before the story went to air, but claims he didn't receive the correspondence until a week later. He denies raping Brittany Higgins in Parliament House in 2019. Host Lisa Wilkinson will give evidence in the defamation trial tomorrow. Rock icon Jimmy Barnes has been forced to shelve his summer tour after having open heart surgery today. The 67-year-old has been in hospital for weeks battling a bacterial infection which spread to his heart.
A voice which can raise the roof and the stamina of an athlete. But today it was Jimmy Barnes' heart of gold which needed some repair work. Unfortunately, I got some bad news late yesterday. Going on to detail a bacterial infection he's been battling over the last fortnight, which had spread to his heart, infecting an otherwise healthy valve, requiring open heart surgery to replace it. Obviously, this is going to take me out of action for a while. This has all happened very suddenly, so it's going to take a few days for everyone to figure out what's going to be doable with my coming shows. 2 weeks ago, Jimmy Barnes gave an update from his hospital bed.
The doctors are keeping me in hospital. They won't let me leave. Got to do a few more things yet.
I'm here to allay everyone's fears. He's in wonderful hands.
His son, David Campbell, on the Today Show this morning.
He's so grateful to the nurses and the doctors for picking this up. If he hadn't got that bacterial pneumonia, he would never have picked this up. He's in the best hands. We feel very, very confident with the doctors. He's going to make a great recovery.
In 1973, as a teenager, Jimmy Barnes became the frontman of Aussie pub rockers Cold Chisel. With songs more like anthems,
When the war is up, got to start again.
Before a solo career boasting hit after hit. After recovering from hip surgery late last year, the working class man kicked off his national Red Hot Summer Tour last month. Now it's rest. Jimmy Get well soon. Lizzie Pearl, 9 News.
A Gold Coast man aged in his 30s has been identified as the pilot killed along with his young son in a light plane crash in the state's north. Their kit aircraft crashed into power lines and burst into flames near Grafton yesterday. He was an experienced pilot. A day after the Wests Tigers board and administration was gutted, incoming boss Shane Richardson has revealed how he'll fix the strife-torn club. While Richardson says he's the right man for the job, the dumped chairman, Lee Hadjipantelis, remains furious.
Shane Richardson's first job in charge, facing a media scrum at Concord. Did you miss this part of it, dealing with the media?
No, I don't miss it at all, but it is what it is, and it goes with the job.
A job Richardson believes he's made for. A veteran administrator with more than 30 years in the game, he turned Cronulla, Penrith and Souths into premiership powerhouses.
So I've always had challenges previously. I've never been at a club yet that wasn't on the bottom of the ladder when I started.
Richardson's blueprint to turn the Tigers around is twofold. The first priority:
stability in coaching staff, stability in the players, and stability in your board.
The second is developing local juniors, especially in Campbelltown.
People talk about Penrith, which is a magnificent area, 8,500 juniors, Parramatta 6. We've got more.
In the meantime, Richardson will do whatever it takes to get their marquee man, Jerome Luai.
He was the best young half coming through. He's proven at the highest level as the best young half coming through.
The Tigers haven't made the finals since 2011. That's the longest drought of any side in the comp. Plus, they just collected back-to-back wooden spoons, so the fans are certainly hungry for success. Realistically, how far off the powerhouse clubs do you think the West Tigers are right now?
For me to sit here as some overweight CEO and tell we're going to do this and we're going to do... I don't have to make the tackles. That's a job for Benji and the players to do. They'll decide on how far we can go.
And today, former chairman Lee Hadjipantelis had his say on the board clean-out.
I just could not be more disappointed with the misconduct and the deceit.
In Concord, Emma Lawrence, 9 News.
It is time now for a check of today's weather with Amber, who joins us tonight from Bondi. Hi, Amber.
Hi, Georgie. Yes, Bondi Beach, the perfect backdrop this evening for carols by the sea. Certainly everyone here is getting in the Christmas spirit, and the weather is picture perfect. Blue skies and sunshine, with the sea breeze taking the edge off today's heat. After a low of 20 degrees overnight, the city warmed up to 29 this afternoon. That is 4 degrees warmer than average. The west dipping to 19.5, reaching 36 degrees. That is 7 degrees hotter than usual. Now, if you are hot today, you might want to think about spending the day indoors tomorrow. Temperatures are going to nudge the 40s. I'll be back with the full forecast from here in Bondi a little later, Georgie.
We'll see you then. Thanks, Amber. Next, shocking scenes on a suburban street. A female police officer attacked by a man not even a taser could stop. A pivotal moment in the Israel-Hamas war, the UN voting for an immediate ceasefire. A stolen car crashes into a Hasslegrove garage. Boys aged just 15 and 16 arrested. And a Moorebank man accused of sending 17 million fraudulent texts to scam money. A policewoman has been violently overpowered during an attempted arrest on a Gold Coast street. A man in a suspected stolen car wrestling her onto the roadway despite being tasered. The officer screamed in terror as the attacker grabbed her head, while her partner chased down the man's alleged accomplice. Senior police say her injuries are not serious. A police officer who plied a 15-year-old with alcohol and vapes in exchange for sex has been jailed for at least 3 years. Matthew Robert Townsend met the teen during an unrelated investigation last year. A judge said the probationary constable abused his trust by taking advantage of the vulnerable girl. Pressure is mounting on Israel to do more to protect civilians in Gaza. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has signed a joint statement with his New Zealand and Canadian counterparts as the United Nations General Assembly voted on an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
Lying on a hospital bed, frightened and in pain. A young girl is treated by doctors. She's one of 15 people injured when a home in Rafah was hit by an Israeli airstrike. The World Health Organisation says this is one of just 11 Gazan hospitals still partially operational. 25 others are not. The Prime Ministers of Australia, New Zealand and Canada releasing a joint statement saying we are alarmed at the diminishing safe space for civilians in Gaza. The price of defeating Hamas cannot be the continuous suffering of all Palestinian civilians. Foreign Minister Penny Wong is heading to Israel in January for a peace mission.
This is the world coming together so civilians can get the humanitarian aid they desperately need.
The UN General Assembly voted on an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
Right now, what we are seeing is an onslaught on civilians.
Human suffering is widespread and unacceptable.
The result isn't legally binding, but sends a strong message. The US has been Israel's staunchest ally since Hamas launched its attacks on Israelis 68 days ago. But cracks are appearing.
We have made it clear to the Israelis, and they're aware, that the safety of innocent Palestinians is still of great concern.
And the two countries disagree over what should happen at the end of this war. Yes, there are disputes about the day after Hamas, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says. Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
A joyride in a stolen car has caused a headache for a family at Hasslegrove in Sydney's west. The Toyota Prado smashing through their garage door last night. Mount Druitt police swarmed the area and picked up a pair of teenage suspects at a nearby petrol station. They faced children's court today, charged with stealing a car. Friends of veteran firefighter Michael Kidd say the Hawkesbury has lost one of its most dedicated locals. It's been a tough 24 hours for emergency services, with an RFS volunteer also losing his life in the state's south.
Tributes came from every corner of the Hawkesbury, the community remembering 51-year-old Michael Kidd.
He was a very kind and gentle person. He was always willing to have a chat with people, and he loved the community.
Yesterday, he and his team left Richmond Station for what would become his last job. Killed by a falling beam while fighting this massive house fire in Grossvale. David Liggett, an RFS volunteer, was one of the first people on scene.
We couldn't have asked for more attention. We had the best chance we could have had, but unfortunately, he passed.
Well, that's 3 laps up to the Triggin Bay.
When he wasn't fighting fires, Michael could be found on the trails.
Doing it!
Running was his passion, and he inspired so many.
People that knew him, even if you didn't know him well, everybody knew that he was just a kind, lovely human.
He was looking forward to doing Ultra Trail Australia next year. That was his next challenge.
Michael's family will be offered a brigade funeral with full honours, a fitting send-off for a man who lived a life of service until the very end. In a tragic 24 hours, the RFS is remembering member Dale Bowles, who suffered a medical episode while responding to a car fire near Moama last night. 2 cruel losses to the firefighting fraternity so close to Christmas. In Richmond, James Wilson, 9 News.
Next on 9 News, Australia leads the way banning engineered stone within months. The sudden death of a Hollywood star who played one of our favourite police officers. What a catch. 7 tonnes of cocaine found inside tuna. And we meet the Sydney HSC students who topped the class. Engineered stone will be banned after state and federal ministers agreed it poses an unacceptable risk to workers. The material is commonly used for kitchen benches and bathroom vanities, but the fine dust released when it's cut can cause silicosis, an incurable disease of the lungs.
We know that as many as 1 in 4 workers that are using engineered stone are contracting silicosis, are contracting other life-ending dust diseases. This decision today will stop the deadly scourge of silicosis in its tracks.
The ban is a world first and begins on the 1st of July next year. A Sydney man has been charged with allegedly sending 17 million scam text messages pretending to be trusted companies such as Australia Post and Linked. Detectives searched a home in Moorebank yesterday morning, arresting the 39-year-old and seizing active SIM boxes and bags full of SIM cards, as well as electronics used in operating the phishing scam. Time is running out for Volodymyr Zelensky and Joe Biden to win over America's Congress. The US president is warning Republicans could give Vladimir Putin the best Christmas present if they don't give Ukraine the war funding it needs.
A warm embrace in one of the most powerful offices in the world. Volodymyr Zelensky and Joe Biden side by side with a message to Vladimir Putin and Republicans in Congress.
Before they give Putin the greatest Christmas gift they could possibly give him.
Warning of risks if lawmakers don't help pass tens of billions of dollars of US military help for Ukraine.
If we don't stop Putin, it'll endanger the freedom of everyone, almost everywhere.
The clock is ticking. President Biden wants it passed by the end of the week. If not, American money on the front line could run out. Almost 2 years into the war with Russia, President Zelensky took his plea direct to Capitol Hill in arguably his most important visit to Washington, D.C. It's insane, President Zelensky says Ukraine should give up territory to Russia in a push for peace. From here, the two leaders very much trying to show why American help is needed inside Ukraine. But the will and wishes of the leader of the free world and a wartime president are being tested by Republicans in Congress, keen to inflict domestic political pain and pressure on a Democrat president heading into an election year. And tonight, the pleas of the presidents, supported by a former Australian Prime Minister.
Ukrainians are fighting and dying, so that Americans and Britons and Australians don't have to fight and die. Please don't go home for Christmas without at least giving the Ukrainians what they need to fight for their freedom.
We have to fix our own border. It should not be a controversial notion.
At the White House, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
Spanish police thought something was fishy, and they were right. They seized 7.5 tonnes of cocaine that had been hidden inside a frozen tuna fish shipment from South America. 20 people have been arrested. American actor Andre Braugher has died. The two-time Emmy Award-winning star was most recently known for his role as Captain Ray Holt in the comedy series Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I used to be a dramatic actor, and now I'm a comedic actor, and the transformation has been really wonderful.
He passed away after an undisclosed illness, aged 61. Years of hard work, and today the payoff for our state's best and brightest. The top of the class for 2023 has been announced, with more than 100 students achieving first in a subject.
It's not every day you get a phone call from the Education Minister.
You have come first in the state in Maths Extension 2. Angie?
Prue Carr personally congratulating the class of 2023's best and brightest. Among the 128 students from 89 schools who achieved first or equal first place in an HSC subject, Jordan Ho from North Sydney Boys, who topped the state in English Advanced. An incredible achievement for the son of first-generation Vietnamese migrants from Sefton.
I feel very happy. I think I made both my parents quite happy.
6 students came first in more than one course, including Maya Stanley from Rivers Secondary College, who aced mathematics and business services despite her school closing during last year's floods.
We pushed through, and so many of my classmates did so well.
While the class of 2023 is a long way from my class of 2003, I still remember how nervous I felt the day before my results were released. And that's exactly how these students and 67,000 others across the state are feeling right now, with their results out tomorrow.
Definitely nerve-wracking. It's still on my nose a lot.
Very nervous, but excited at the same time. I think it's just the start.
At Western Sydney University, Kate Creedon, 9 News.
Coming up, Queensland's cyclone emergency. Jasper's about to make landfall, so we will cross to our reporter in Queensland's far north shortly. Also, why Sydney's golf courses could be taken over by other sports such as pickleball. And speaking of sport, Emma's here. Usman Khawaja won't go ahead with his personal protest in Perth.
Yes, good evening, Georgie. The Aussie batsman had planned to have a message of support for Palestinians on his cricket shoes. We'll hear why that plan has been abandoned next. Star Bulldogs recruit Stephen Crichton calls on a former teammate in his bid to become fullback at Belmore. And why the NRL hopes a partnership with the UFC will help make rugby league a huge hit in the USA.
And it's very pleasant here in Bondi this evening, but tomorrow is going to be unbearably hot. I'll tell you just how warm it will get shortly.
Usman Khawaja is set to fight an ICC rule which prevents him from putting a message of support for Palestinians on his shoes during matches. While he won't wear the offending shoes in Perth, he remains passionate about his stance and hopes to get the regulation changed.
On the eve of the Australian Test summer,
Nice to meet you, mate.
Usman Khawaja's thoughts were on a conflict overseas. On his shoes, a message which read, "All lives are equal," in sympathy with Palestinians being killed in Gaza.
Freedom is a human right, and all lives are equal. I will never stop believing that, whether you agree with me or not.
But Khawaja's personal protest now won't go ahead after the ICC intervened.
I will respect their view and decision, but I will fight it and seek to gain approval. I'm not taking sides. Human life to me is equal. One Jewish life is equal to one Muslim life, is equal to one Hindu life. I'm just speaking up for those who don't have a voice.
And he has the support of his skipper.
I think it's one of our strongest points, our team, is that everyone has their own passionate views and individual thoughts. And what was on the shoes, all lives are equal. I mean, I support that.
So do you think you should be able to wear it then?
Yeah, there's rules in place, so again, I haven't really thought about it too much.
Today, Cummins was looking to the future. Travis Head elevated to vice-captain alongside Steve Smith.
Whilst, nothing's imminent, Steve's not going to play forever. I dare say I'm not going to captain forever, so we feel like we've got some responsibility to future-proof the team down the track. It might be Trav, might be someone else, but we want to make sure they're as prepared as they can be.
After a year on the road, the Aussies are relishing a familiar Perth pitch, just hoping supporters turn up to fill the stands.
School might still be in here. You might not get the packed stadium, but there's going to be millions of people watching.
Sam Jordan, 9 News.
A disappointing start to the Big Bash season for the Sydney Thunder. They fell to the Brisbane Heat by 20 runs in their first game of the new campaign. Michael Neese's stunning catch started the Thunder's downfall, and although Chris Green's late cameo of 30 from 20 balls gave them some hope, they were all out for 131. Bulldogs recruit Stephen Crichton has revealed his new teammates are already asking questions to learn the Panthers' premiership secrets. Crichton says he doesn't mind what position he plays at Canterbury, but he's been seeking advice from Penrith's fullback, Dylan Edwards.
The Bulldogs' top signing setting the standard. Stephen Crichton cutting holidays short, arriving at Belmore a month early.
I think I just didn't want to come in the new year and not know anyone. I wanted to come in and show that I'm really about it.
Crichton comes to Canterbury on the back of 3 straight premierships at the Panthers.
I get a lot of boys asking how the system and that is at Penrith and how they run things.
He's happy to share, but has also been impressed with how things are run at the Kennel. There's been no sign of last year's trouble, where some players complained about the heavy training workload.
Compared to Penrith, what have you noticed in your early days?
I think it's probably similar. The intensity is really up there. Just talking to the boys, they're saying it's a lot better. A lot of the boys are buying in and motivated to get better.
The versatile Crichton says he'll line up anywhere for the Dogs.
I kind of like playing fullback, like playing centre, playing wing.
But on big money, many expect him to wear number 1, so he's been learning from a friend.
Last year being under one of the best fullbacks in Dylan Edwards and trying to pick from his brains.
A new club isn't the only big off-season change for Crichton, who's also become engaged to partner Leone.
I was more nervous for that than the grand final. Not nervous asking her, but asking her parents.
From a new recruit to a club veteran, Raymond Faitala Mariner says he's sticking around at Canterbury despite being allowed to negotiate with other teams and at one stage being told to sit out training.
I think it was just a bit of, miscommunication. As long as I'm in these colours, mate, I will put my best foot forward and commit to the club.
Luke Dovesey, 9 News.
There are a few sports on the planet as tough as rugby league. Today, the NRL joined forces with one of the others, mixed martial arts Goliath, UFC. It's all part of the NRL's push to gain a foothold in the US ahead of the season-opening doubleheader in Vegas next March.
It's the NRL meeting the UFC, the game's Vegas ambassadors, being taken through their paces by a legend of UFC, Forrest Griffin. The new sporting partnership of first, and access to the UFC's assets and reach, are key to the NRL's USA push. It was the most significant announcement at today's official launch for the Vegas game.
Well, I think it's a huge step up for us because UFC has a massive following, particularly here in America, and they are and have been all, this effectively the sport that has owned Las Vegas. And so the crossover from an athlete level, the crossover from a fan level is definitely there, and it's huge.
Someone as big as them to jump on board with us shows that they think we've got potential to tap into the market in America.
Rugby league, what's it mean to you?
I mean, to me, it's the closest or the easiest to understand to what I'm used to American football. I love it. It's a faster version of American football. If you think about, a complaint, American football, it's kind of slow. Should it really take 3 hours to play a 60-minute game? No.
And the drive to find American players is genuinely on. A combine will be held in California in February.
We're opening up an opportunity for 50 male and female athletes to effectively try out, and these will be high quality college athletes putting through a series of tests. We'll have club representatives here, and we're going to have 4 of those players actually then have a shot at getting a development contract.
Right now, the main focus is making Americans love the NRL in March.
Rugby league got you all shook up?
That's probably the best phrase to say it, man. I'm all shook up. I'm jazzed about it, man.
In Las Vegas, Danny Weidler, 9 News.
Shayna Jack has done the double at the Queensland State Championships, taking out the women's 50 and 100 metre freestyle titles. Cameron McAvoy was the best in the men's 50 free, while Kaylee McEwen took gold in the women's 200 metre individual medley. And more misery for Manchester United. They've crashed out of the Champions League after losing at home to German powerhouse Bayern Munich 1-0. England striker Harry Kane set up the only goal that saw the Red Devils finish last in the group. It means they won't even get to play in the Europa League next year. Georgie, I don't know about you, but I'm getting excited for the Vegas games, and Danny looks like he's having quite a nice little junket.
A bit too much fun.
Yes.
Thanks, Em. See you soon. Coming up, we will cross to far north Queensland, where Cyclone Jasper is about to make landfall. Also, turf tug-of-war, the sport's coming after Sydney's golf courses. And following in his mother's footsteps, Prince William's surprise Christmas feast for the homeless.
To celebrate the return of 9 Summer of Tennis, we're giving away 40 double passes to the United Cup. To enter, scan the QR code on your screen now, and you could be watching some of the biggest stars of the tennis world in action. Good luck.
The market rose during a choppy day's trade, but Sigma Healthcare was unquestionably the standout, rocketing 68% as it rejoined trade. It's now been beefed up after announcing a reverse takeover with Chemist Warehouse. Couldn't hang on to all those gains though, finishing the day 40% higher. Some analysts doubt the ACCC will approve that deal, which is keeping a lid on the celebrations. Elsewhere, Fortescue hit a record high, close to $27 a share. A big part of that is the surprising strength of the iron ore price. It's topping $130 a tonne, which is a lot, twice as high as even the Australian government thought it would be. Finally, the Australian dollar was higher today, buying 65 US cents, 60 euro cents and 52 British pence.
Thank you, Chris. Cyclone Jasper is closing in on far north Queensland. Our reporter Olivana Lathoris is at Ellis Beach for us. And Olivana, it's pretty evident conditions there are worsening.
Georgie, things are just going from bad to worse here at Ellis Beach. We are getting absolutely belted by that wind, and as you can see behind me, the ocean is just a brown churning mess. The tide is slowly inching up. Now, earlier today, these cabins along the beach were inundated by waves, and although the tide tonight isn't expected to be as high, it will be bolstered by a really strong storm surge. So unfortunately, flooding is still very much a concern here. We've still got at least 2.5 hours before the tide reaches its peak. And unfortunately, as you say, the conditions are just getting worse. So, yeah, the worst still to come, Georgie.
All right, Olivana Latharis, stay safe. Thank you. Public golf courses could be forced to diversify as councils look to secure space for more sports. A new report claiming there'll be a major shortfall in sporting facilities across Sydney's north in the coming years.
Public green space in a population growth hotspot, Hornsby's Wesley Park to be transformed into a premier sporting complex. But the 10-hectare facility will only touch the sides of a much larger issue.
It's a dire need because we don't have enough fields.
Northern Sydney Regional Organisation of Councils commissioning a report claiming there will be a 222-hectare shortfall of sporting space in the region by 2036. To compensate, the 8 councils in the group will need to increase their public sporting capacity by 49%.
In the lower North Shore, I think our capacity for new green space is zero.
Solutions flagged in the report include modifying building rooftops, partnering with schools for increased public access, and diversifying golf courses to include playing fields and accommodating emerging sports like pickleball and ultimate frisbee.
I think looking at all our single-use facilities and saying, can we put some other facility onto that site without upsetting the current users?
One example of this, a $75 million sports complex being built next to Lane Cove Golf Club. But for users of Camaray Golf Club, who have recently had their course carved up due to the Warringah Freeway upgrade, this comes as a concern.
We've already lost half of it, as you can see, and we don't want to lose any more.
It's hoped that any changes to public golf courses will be subject to community consultation, with little to no effect on the players' game.
It's unfortunate that everywhere where there is a course is under threat.
The era of single-use sports facilities has to take a back seat.
In Camaray, Madison Scott, 9 News.
Bottles of Hershey's caramel syrup are being recalled because they don't declare that they might contain milk. Anyone with an allergy or dairy intolerance is urged not to consume it and return the 623-gram bottles for a full refund. The future King of England has put on an apron to help cook a Christmas meal. Prince William doing his best to spread some holiday cheer for a homeless charity in London by serving lunch and posing for photos. William first visited the shelter in 1993 with his brother Prince Harry and late mother Princess Diana. Coming up, Amber with the weather.
Thanks, Georgie. After a hot day, it is going to be a hot night. We're only expecting temperatures to dip to around 23 to 24 degrees right across the Sydney Basin. Right now, it is 25 degrees here in Bondi, 32 in our west. I'll have your full forecast next. It has been a hot and mostly sunny day with northeasterly winds picking up this afternoon. I am out and about enjoying Carols by the Sea in Bondi, a free event which has attracted hundreds of people here this evening to enjoy some Christmas festivities. It has cooled down a little on the coast, but it has been a very, very hot day, reaching 36 in Penrith, 33 in Campbelltown, 34 in Camden. Our warmest suburb was Richmond, hitting 37, while the city didn't quite crack 30 degrees, hitting 29 this afternoon. Across New South Wales today, the heat wave continued across our west, reaching the mid-30s into the 40s with some afternoon storms rolling through. The coast kept cooler by gusty northeasterlies, only reaching 23 in Wollongong, 24 in Newcastle and Batemans Bay. Tomorrow, tropical cyclone Jasper should start to weaken to a low in North Queensland, but it will still generate very heavy rain and damaging winds. Elsewhere, a front will bring showers to Tasmania, a southerly change to the New South Wales coast. Brisbane will be sunny in 33, blue skies in Canberra, a top of 30, partly cloudy in Melbourne, and a shower or two on the way for Hobart and for Adelaide. We'll see some showers and storms across central inland parts of New South Wales tomorrow, as well as the coast from Newcastle down to Wollongong. Some extremely hot weather forecast. Heat wave warnings are in place. There is a complete fire ban and an extreme fire risk for the Greater Hunter and the Greater Sydney region. Temperatures expected to reach 37 in Newcastle, 34 in Batemans Bay. Sydney is expecting a very hot and stormy day tomorrow, followed by a gusty southerly buster tomorrow night. So it will start start off sunny before clouds start to move through, bringing a possible storm before that cool change. We are heading for 40 degrees in Penrith and Richmond, 39 in Campbelltown and Bankstown, 38 for Sydney Olympic Park, 37 in the city and 36 in Terry Hills. Let's take a quick look ahead. Friday will be noticeably cooler, heading for 27, but that won't last. Warming back up to 33 on Saturday, 27 on Sunday. The warmer weather sticking around next week, as well as those warmer nights. In our west, it will be partly cloudy and 32 on Friday, reaching 37 again on Saturday, 30 on Sunday, and there is no relief next week. We are expecting 42 degrees again by next Tuesday, Georgie.
Wow, OK. Thanks for that, Amber. Enjoy the carols. And that is 9 News for this Wednesday. Deb Knight's next with The Current Affair. I'm Georgie Gardner. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.